The grand chamber of the United Galactic Species Council glowed with soft blue light from the floating orbs that drifted near its high ceiling. Elder Gray stood before the semicircle of council members, his ancient form trembling slightly as he gripped his walking staff. His crystalline skin had grown cloudy with age, but his eyes still held the sharp intelligence that had earned him his seat among the luminous race's highest advisors. "You must listen." Elder Gray's voice echoed through the chamber. "The humans are not what they appear to be. I have seen them. I have studied them. They are dangerous in ways you cannot imagine." Laughter rippled through the assembled council members. Commander Red, leader of the military fleet, stepped forward with a dismissive wave of his hand. His red scales gleamed under the floating lights as he addressed the council. "With all due respect, Elder," he said, not bothering to hide his amusement, "these humans still burn fossil fuels. They haven't even colonized their own solar system properly. Half their planet lacks basic space-age technology. They're primitives, nothing more." Elder Gray closed his eyes, remembering his own encounter with humans 2 centuries ago. He had been young then, part of a secret observation mission. He had watched as humans fought each other with primitive weapons, yet showed incredible resourcefulness. He had seen their cities rise from ashes, their people survive disasters that should have broken them. But most importantly, he had seen their speed of advancement. 200 years ago, Elder Gray said, they were using steam engines. Now they have crude fusion power. No other species has advanced so quickly. Can you not see what this means? Council Member Blue, her tentacles writhing with irritation, spoke next. "It means they're finally ready to be civilized, to be guided by their betters. We've waited long enough. The resources in their sector of space are too valuable to leave in primitive hands." "You're wrong," Elder Gray insisted. "Their advancement isn't linear like ours. They don't perfect one technology before moving to the next. They develop everything at once, messy and chaotic, but also brilliant. They have weapons we don't know about, defenses we haven't detected." "Enough." Commander Red slammed his fist on the podium. "We've reviewed their military capabilities. Primitive projectile weapons, crude energy shields, basic space combat vessels. Nothing that could stand against even one of our fleets." The council chamber filled with murmurs of agreement. Elder Gray looked from face to face, seeing only condescension and dismissal in their eyes. Even the youngest council member, Green, who usually listened to the elders with respect, was shaking his head. "The decision has been made," Green announced, standing to address the chamber. "We will proceed with first contact. We will offer them protectorate status. They will either accept our guidance or face the consequences. This is for their own good." Elder Gray's shoulders slumped. He had failed. Just as the ancient texts had warned, pride was blinding the council to the truth. He thought of the human stories he had collected over the centuries, tales of their wars, their resilience, their ability to unite against outside threats. He thought of their entertainment media, filled with scenarios of alien invasion, showing their constant mental preparation for such events. "Then you leave me no choice," Elder Gray said quietly. "I formally register my protest against this action. When the humans reveal their true nature, remember that you were warned." As he turned to leave the chamber, Commander Red was already discussing the first contact fleet's composition. The council members quickly forgot about the old elders' warnings, turning their attention to dividing up human territory and resources among their worlds. But Elder Gray knew. He had seen the truth in human eyes. They were not a primitive species waiting to be uplifted. They were a young species, yes, but one that had been forged in the fires of constant challenge and change. They were survivors, adapters, warriors. And the Council was about to learn this truth the hard way. The first contact fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, a collection of sleek vessels that gleamed like polished gems against the darkness of space. Commander Red stood on the bridge of his flagship, admiring how the sun's light played across the crystalline hulls of his ships. "Send the greeting message," he ordered, adjusting his ceremonial armor. Let's show these primitives what real civilization looks like. The message, carefully crafted by the Council's diplomatic team, broadcast across all frequencies. It spoke of peace, of guidance, of the benefits of joining the United Galactic Species. The human response came within hours, faster than Red had expected from such a primitive race. Greetings, the human transmission began. We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations. However, we must inform you that your fleet's current position violates our defensive perimeter. Please maintain your current distance while we establish proper diplomatic channels. Commander Red's scales flickered with amusement. Defensive perimeter. They barely have ships beyond their moon. He turned to his communications officer. Tell them we're approaching Earth for their own protection. They'll understand once we show them our power. The fleet moved forward, crossing the invisible line the humans had drawn. Red watched his tactical displays, expecting to see the handful of human ships scrambling in panic. Instead, hundreds of small objects suddenly appeared on his sensors, emerging from hidden positions throughout the solar system. Sir, his sensor officer called out, voice uncertain. We're detecting some kind of automated defense platforms. They weren't there a moment ago. Representative Green, who had insisted on being present for this historic moment, stepped forward. Impossible. Our scans showed no such technology. They must be decoys or simple satellites. The human voice came again, calmer than before. This is your final warning. Maintain your position, or we will be forced to demonstrate our defensive capabilities. Red laughed. Let them demonstrate. Power up our shields. Show them what real technology looks like. A single human missile launched from the nearest platform. Red's crew tracked it lazily, their superior countermeasures ready to swat it aside. But the missile did something unexpected. It split into dozens of smaller projectiles, each one changing course in ways that defied normal physics. Interesting trick, Red muttered, still unconcerned. But our shields. The projectiles struck. They didn't explode with conventional force. Instead, they created overlapping fields of distorted spacetime, turning the shields of Red's lead ships into useless geometric patterns that folded in on themselves. Impossible, Green shouted. They shouldn't have this level of physics understanding. Their research papers show nothing like this. Red's tactical officer spoke up, voice shaking. Sir, we're detecting energy buildups in their lunar bases, and something's rising from Earth's oceans. Multiple somethings. The humans transmitted again. We hoped for peaceful first contact. However, we've spent centuries preparing for less friendly visitors. Please withdraw your fleet. This is not a negotiation. Red felt the first stirring of real concern. His scans were showing technology that shouldn't exist, defenses that had been completely hidden from their most advanced detection methods. Elder Gray's words echoed in his mind. They don't perfect one technology before moving to the next. They develop everything at once. Pull back, Red ordered, his pride warring with his tactical sense. Maintain position at the system edge. Contact the Council. Tell them. He paused, looking at the growing number of human weapons platforms appearing on his displays. Tell them we may need to reconsider our approach. Green stared at the tactical display, his earlier confidence shattered. They'd been hiding their true capabilities. All this time, they knew we were watching, and they showed us exactly what they wanted us to see. As the alien fleet retreated, Earth's defenses remained active but didn't pursue. They had made their point without firing a single fatal shot. The message was clear. Humanity was not the primitive species the Council had assumed them to be. And this was just their first line of defense. The mining colony on Europa gleamed like a scattered handful of diamonds on the icy moon's surface. Inside the main operations center, Station Chief Allen watched the long-range sensors with growing concern. 3 alien ships had broken away from their main fleet, ignoring all warnings as they approached the Jupiter system. They're testing us, he muttered, sending another alert to Earth Command. Looking for a weak point. Commander Red stood on his bridge, studying the small human outpost. After the embarrassment at the edge of the solar system, He needed a victory to show the Council. This isolated mining operation seemed perfect. Far from Earth's main defenses, minimal military presence. "Move in," he ordered. "Disable their communications first. Then we'll show them what happens when primitives refuse our guidance." The alien ships accelerated toward Europa. Their weapons powered up, targeting the colony's communication arrays. But before they could fire, something unexpected happened. The ice around the colony cracked. Massive doors slid open, revealing hidden launch bays. From these emerged sleek vessels that looked nothing like the crude ships humans used near Earth. They moved with impossible grace, using propulsion systems that left no energy signature. "Impossible," Red whispered. "Their technology level." "Sir," his tactical officer shouted. "The humans. They're inside our shields." The hidden fleet had somehow slipped through the aliens' most advanced defensive systems, as if they weren't there. Red watched in horror as the human ships took up perfect attack positions. A new voice came over their communications. "This is Commander Kate of the Europa Defense Force. You are in violation of sovereign human space. Your shields have been compromised. Your weapons are targeted. Withdraw immediately." Red's scales flashed with anger and fear. "How dare you threaten?" His words cut off as one of his ships exploded, not from weapons fire, but from within. Somehow, the humans had teleported something aboard, something that shouldn't have been possible with their level of technology. That was a warning. Commander Kate's voice came again. "The next one won't be to an empty cargo hold." In the council chambers, Elder Gray watched the tactical feeds with sad resignation. "Do you see now?" he asked the assembled members. "They hide their true strength. They let us see their primitive ships and basic weapons, while keeping their real capabilities secret." Council Member Blue's tentacles writhed in agitation. But why? If they have such technology, why pretend to be primitive? "Because," Elder Gray explained, "they learned long ago that showing your full strength invites challenge. Better to be underestimated. Better to keep your true capabilities hidden until they're needed." Back at Europa, Red faced a choice. His remaining ships hung motionless, surrounded by human vessels that shouldn't exist. His sensors showed more bays opening in Europa's ice, revealing weapon emplacements that had been completely undetectable. "Withdraw," he ordered, his pride finally breaking. Back to the fleet. As his ships retreated, he received one final message from the human commander. "Next time, bring your whole fleet. It won't make a difference, but at least it will be more efficient." The council chambers erupted in chaos as the reports came in. Their primitive targets had weapons that ignored shields, ships that violated known physics, and defensive capabilities that had remained hidden despite centuries of observation. The mining colony was a trap, Green realized. They knew someone would try to take it. They wanted us to try. Elder Gray nodded slowly. "And this was just a small outpost. Imagine what defenses they have that we haven't seen yet. Imagine what other secrets they're keeping." The council members looked at each other in growing horror. They had dismissed humanity as primitive because humans had let them see only what they wanted to be seen. Now that mistake was going to cost them dearly. The spark had been lit. The real war was about to begin. The full might of the United Galactic Species Invasion Fleet filled the space around Mars. 10,000 ships, representing the combined military power of 30 advanced civilizations, prepared to crush the upstart humans once and for all. Commander Red, now leading from a heavily armored dreadnought, addressed his fleet. "Today we end this defiance. Our full force against their handful of worlds. Victory is certain." But in his private quarters, doubt gnawed at him. The events at Europa had shaken his confidence, though he would never admit it openly. The attack began with a massive surge forward. The alien fleet split into 3 waves, the first to overwhelm Earth's defenses, the second to secure the colonies, and the third to blockade the entire system. They expected resistance. They expected to face the same weapons that had surprised them before. They were ready for everything they had seen. They weren't ready for what came next. The first wave hit what seemed to be empty space and vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply gone. Thousands of ships disappeared in an instant. Impossible. Red roared, watching a third of his fleet disappear from all sensors. Where are they? What happened? The answer came from the most unexpected place, Earth's moon. Its entire surface rippled like water, revealing what lay beneath, a massive artificial structure that had been perfectly camouflaged. Did you really think, came a transmission from Earth, that we would build our real defenses where you could see them? The moon structure pulsed, and space itself seemed to tear open. Through these rips came the missing ships from the first wave, but changed, transformed. Their crews were unconscious, their weapons disabled, their systems reprogrammed. In the council chambers, Elder Gray watched the feeds with a mix of awe and vindication. They didn't just advance their technology, he told the stunned council members. They learned to manipulate reality itself. The second wave of ships tried to retreat, but found themselves caught in invisible webs of altered spacetime. The third wave fired everything they had at Earth, only to watch their weapons curve away, caught by gravitational fields that shouldn't exist. Then humanity revealed their true fleet. Ships emerged from what looked like tears in reality. Vessels that seemed to bend light around them, moving in ways that violated every known law of physics. They weren't just more advanced. They operated on principles the aliens had never even imagined. You thought we were primitive because we still used fossil fuels. The human transmission continued. We kept those technologies because they work. But they're not our only tools. Red watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled. Some ships were simply shut down, their advanced systems frozen by human technology. Others found themselves teleported into holding patterns around Jupiter, their weapons and engines disabled. Fall back, he ordered. All ships, retreat. But retreat wasn't as simple as they had planned. The humans had somehow altered the very space around the solar system. Standard faster-than-light travel was impossible. In the council chambers, Green turned to Elder Gray. How? How did they hide all this? Our observations were exactly what they wanted you to see, Elder Gray replied. They showed you their old technology, their basic ships. They let you think you were watching their military buildup. But their real power, their real advances, were hidden in plain sight. The battle, if it could even be called that, was over in hours. The greatest invasion fleet ever assembled hung powerless in space, at the mercy of the species they had dismissed as primitive. A final message came from Earth. Your ships will be returned, your crews unharmed. But remember this, we didn't want war. We were prepared for it, but we didn't want it. Remember that when you consider your next move. Red, watching his defeated fleet drift powerless through space, finally understood what Elder Gray had tried to warn them about. Humanity hadn't just advanced beyond their expectations. They had evolved into something the council races couldn't even comprehend. In their desperation, the United Galactic Species Council made their gravest mistake. After the humiliating defeat of their conventional forces, they turned to their most devastating weapons. Advanced bioweapons designed to target human DNA. If we cannot defeat their machines, Council Member Blue declared, we will strike at their bodies instead. Elder Gray's protests fell on deaf ears as the Council authorized the release of engineered viruses across Earth's colonies. They expected to watch humanity crumble before this invisible enemy. Instead, they witnessed something extraordinary. The first wave of bioweapons hit the Mars colony. Monitoring ships waited to see the humans fall sick and die. But within hours, the colony's medical AI systems had already analyzed, neutralized, and developed countermeasures against the attack. Did you think, came the transmission from Mars, that after surviving our own plagues, we wouldn't be ready for yours? The truth emerged. Humans had engineered their own biology centuries ago. Every human had nanites in their bloodstream, artificial immune systems, and genetic modifications that made them virtually immune to biological warfare. In the council chambers, Elder Gray revealed ancient records. "Look," he said, showing footage of human history. Every disease they faced, they defeated. Every plague that should have ended them made them stronger instead. They didn't just cure their illnesses, they used them to improve themselves. The council watched in horror as their bioweapons were not just defeated, but turned against them. Human scientists had reverse-engineered the alien viruses, understanding their workings in days instead of the years it had taken to develop them. "Your weapons were impressive," came another transmission, this time from Earth's CDC. "But we've been preparing for biological warfare since before we reached space. Did you really think we wouldn't be ready?" Commander Red, watching from his temporary command post near Saturn, received the reports with growing dread. The humans weren't just surviving the attacks, they were using them to learn about alien biology. Each failed assault gave them more information about their enemies' genetic structures. In a desperate move, the Council authorized their final option: a synthetic virus designed to rewrite neural patterns, theoretically capable of controlling human minds. They released it in Earth's atmosphere, expecting to finally see humanity kneel. The response came within hours. Every human on Earth simultaneously activated dormant neural defenses, quantum-entangled consciousness protectors that had been standard issue for generations. But more than that, they launched a counterattack. Through methods the aliens couldn't understand, humans transmitted a signal that reached directly into the collective consciousness networks of the Council races, not to harm, but to show them something: the truth about humanity's relationship with disease and evolution. Images flooded alien minds, centuries of humans fighting plagues, developing medicines, healing their sick. They saw how each challenge had pushed humans to adapt, to improve, to transform themselves not through slow evolution, but through directed advancement. "We cured death," the transmission explained, "before we reached Mars. We mastered our own biology before we built our first fusion reactor. You attacked our bodies because you thought they were our weakness. You were wrong." In the council chambers, panic spread as the implications became clear. They had launched their most devastating weapons against humanity, only to discover that humans had transcended biological warfare generations ago. Elder Gray stood before the council one last time. "Now do you understand? They didn't just advance their technology. They advanced themselves. Every aspect of their existence was carefully engineered, planned, improved. And you just showed them exactly how your biological weapons work." The council races faced a terrifying realization. In trying to destroy humanity through biological warfare, they had given humans all the knowledge needed to completely understand alien biology. The balance of power hadn't just shifted, it had been completely upended. And this was only the beginning of humanity's response. Elder Gray walked slowly through the Great Hall of Records, his crystalline form reflecting the soft light of ancient data crystals. Behind him followed the remaining council members, their earlier arrogance replaced by quiet dread. "Now I will show you what I discovered centuries ago," he said, activating a massive holographic display. The true history of humanity. The images that filled the chamber made the council members step back in shock. They saw humans fighting wars that should have destroyed them, surviving disasters that should have ended their civilization, and rebuilding from ashes time and time again. "Look," Elder Gray commanded, showing footage of human conflicts. "While we evolved through peaceful cooperation, they evolved through constant challenge. Every war taught them new ways to fight. Every disaster showed them new ways to survive." The council watched as humans went from primitive spears to nuclear weapons in a mere blink of cosmic time. They saw how humans turned their most devastating weapons into power sources, their deadliest poisons into medicines. But that's not the most frightening part. Elder Gray continued, changing the display. "Show them." He commanded the archive system. What happened to the last species that tried to conquer Earth? The records came alive with images from long before the council existed. Another alien race, far more advanced than humanity at the time, had attempted invasion. The result was catastrophic, not for humans, but for the invaders. Humans didn't just defeat them, Elder Gray explained. They absorbed their technology, improved it, and within one generation had surpassed it completely. The invaders became the invaded. Their worlds now exist as part of human space, though you never knew it. Council Member Blue's tentacles writhed in distress. Why didn't you show us this before? I tried, but you wouldn't listen. You saw what you wanted to see, a primitive species using fossil fuels and basic spaceflight. You never asked why a species capable of manipulating reality itself would choose to maintain such simple technology. The display shifted again, showing human entertainment media. Countless stories of alien invasions, of humanity facing and overcoming overwhelming odds. They made defeating alien invaders into entertainment, Green whispered. They were rehearsing, preparing their people for us. Yes, Elder Gray confirmed. For thousands of years, they prepared, not just their weapons or their defenses, but their minds. Every child grew up knowing that alien invasion was possible. Every generation added to their preparation. The council chambers shook as reports came in from across alien space. Rebellion had broken out on dozens of worlds. The council's own subject species, inspired by humanity's resistance, were demanding independence. Your attack didn't just fail, Elder Gray said quietly. It showed every oppressed species in the galaxy that the council could be defeated. That technological superiority doesn't guarantee victory. More reports flooded in. Human ships had been spotted near council worlds, not attacking, but offering protection to rebellious populations. Human technology was spreading, being shared with species that wanted to break free from council control. This is what I tried to warn you about, Elder Gray said. Humans don't just fight wars, they transform them. They don't just develop weapons, they reshape reality itself. And now you've given them a reason to reshape our entire galaxy. The council members watched their power crumbling in real time. Centuries of careful control and manipulation were falling apart in days. What can we do? Green asked, his earlier confidence completely shattered. Elder Gray turned to face them, his ancient eyes filled with both wisdom and sadness. There's only one thing we can do now. We must hope that the other truth I learned about humans is also still valid. What truth is that? Blue asked. That despite their power, despite their ability to destroy us completely, humans still prefer peace when it's honestly offered. But this time, it must be real peace, between equals. The age of the council's supremacy is over. The council members looked at each other, finally understanding the full magnitude of their mistake. They hadn't just started a war. They had triggered a galactic revolution. And humanity was leading it. The peace conference took place on neutral ground, a space station orbiting Saturn's rings. Representatives from Earth sat across from the humbled council members, while Elder Gray stood between them as mediator. The human delegation was led by Admiral Jack, a quiet man whose simple uniform belied his species' incredible power. He looked across at Commander Red, who now represented the United Galactic Species in a far different capacity than he had imagined. Let's be clear, Admiral Jack began, his voice calm but firm. We could end this by force. We could take your worlds, dismantle your empire, and reshape the galaxy as we see fit. But that's not who we are. Elder Gray nodded approvingly. This was the humanity he had discovered centuries ago, capable of overwhelming force but preferring wisdom when given the choice. Commander Red's scales flickered with a mix of fear and confusion. Then what do you want? What we've always wanted, Admiral Jack replied. Peace between equals. Real peace, not submission disguised as protection. Not empire disguised as guidance. The terms were laid out. The council would be reformed, with all species, including formerly subjected ones, having equal representation. Humanity would share some of their technological advances, but not their weapons. In return, they asked only for recognition of their sovereignty and the right to help other species defend themselves against future aggression. "You're giving up the chance to rule the galaxy," Council Member Blue observed, her tentacles moving in patterns of disbelief. Admiral Jack smiled. "We never wanted to rule. Power isn't the same as wisdom. Your council proved that." As the negotiations proceeded, Elder Gray shared more of his ancient records. The council members watched in amazement as they saw humans helping other species, solving problems that had puzzled alien scientists for generations, and freely sharing knowledge that could have been used for domination. "This is why I tried to warn you," Elder Gray explained. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't their weapons or their technology. It's their ability to turn enemies into allies, to transform conflict into cooperation." The peace treaty took shape. Humanity would help establish a new galactic organization, one based on mutual respect and cooperation rather than dominance and submission. Their advanced technology would be used to solve problems, not enforce control. "But what about our worlds that have rebelled?" Green asked, still worried about the collapse of the old order. "They will be free to choose their own path," Admiral Jack answered. "Just as we did when you tried to force us to submit. That's what real freedom means." The signing ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Species that had lived under council control for millennia watched as a new era began. Humanity, the supposedly primitive species that had shattered the old order, now helped establish a new one based on equality and mutual respect. Elder Gray stood at the ceremony's end, addressing all who could hear. "Today marks not just the end of a war, but the beginning of true understanding. The Council's greatest mistake wasn't underestimating humanity's power. It was failing to understand their wisdom." As the delegates prepared to return to their worlds, Admiral Jack approached Elder Gray privately. "You knew, didn't you? All those centuries ago, you saw what we could become." The ancient being nodded slowly. "I saw a species that had every reason to choose dominance, yet consistently chose cooperation. That was far more impressive than any weapon or technology." Across the galaxy, change spread rapidly. Former council worlds opened their borders. Suppressed technologies were shared. Species that had been kept apart began to cooperate and learn from each other. Commander Red, watching Earth's ships depart peacefully, finally understood what Elder Gray had tried to tell them. Humanity's greatest victory hadn't been defeating the Council's fleet or surviving their bioweapons. Their greatest victory was turning a war for survival into a revolution of hope. The Elders had known the truth about humanity. They were not the primitive species the Council had dismissed, nor were they the conquerors everyone had feared. They were teachers, showing the galaxy a better way forward. And this time, everyone was ready to learn.